sister's a therapist and I tell jokes. We both want to help all kinds of folks.
Hello, and welcome to My Sister's a Therapist. This is a podcast where a stand-up comedian, which is me, Virginia Jones, I talk to my sister, Laura Ryan, who's a therapist, and she sounds like this.
Hello, I'm Laura Ryan. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, but my main credit is sister to Duchess of Deadpan, Virginia Jones.
Now, that one is actually dead accurate. I wouldn't criticize you for not being able to come up with more horrible titles for me, but you made this rule yourself. I will criticize. I never said you better think of a different way to say comedian every show.
I brought it on myself.
Laura, I'm very excited about this week's episode. It's all over TikTok. It's so of the time, but also I think there's a lot of information here for everybody all the time. I want to talk about the relationship, breakup, and revenge album, West End Girl of Lily Allen and David Harbour.
Dun-dun, dun-dun.
We talked about it when they got together. We had a conversation about how cute it was.
Well, we were really mad because we wanted to date David Harbour. And we thought, why is he dating a woman who has an eating disorder and already has a lot of money? Why can't he date a fat lady with no money
that he's never met who lives in Texas? I was in the thick of my Hopper fixation at the time. Third season of Stranger Things, maybe, when it really got to a fever pitch for me. But I had
Oh, really? It took that long for me. It was episode 1 where he disrobes in his bedroom and I could see his back fat. And I thought, that's something.
That's the man for me. He is very sexy. I was kind of delighted that he was dating Lily Allen because I also like Lily Allen. It was a little parasocial cutout doll Barbie Ken situation. I felt like I knew both of them, even though I don't. It felt like my two most famous friends were getting married.
You admired and respected both of them.
And she's gorgeous, talented, and I didn't know a lot about her other relationships at the time. So I'm like, this is great. And it was adorable. And they got married in Vegas, and she had this cute little 60s dress, and they went out for In-N-Out burgers afterwards. It was very hipstery, me-coded, the whole thing.
It was also very second marriage coded.
True. Their timeline, if nothing else, it's quick.
I remember seeing her in the Architectural Digest article. And I just thought, God, we're already here where you're doing photo shoots about your home. That felt fast to me.
So they start dating in 2019. He proposes and then they marry in 2020. He has proposed to two previous girlfriends, the beautiful redheaded actress Maria Thayer, who was in Strangers with Candy.
She is very beautiful. I can't place where I know her from.
She was in the remade Punky Brewster series. I didn't even know came out, that we were talking about the other day. She was in AP Bio, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Anyway, Maria Thayer, she's gorgeous. She's talented. They were engaged, but never married. And then also Julia Stiles, engaged, never married.
I didn't know he had dated her. Isn't she a lot younger than him?
They're all a lot younger than him.
Oh, okay.
Hers actually is not terrible. She's only 5 years younger. Difference between him and Lily Allen is 10 years.
I guess I just think of her as being very young.
Because that's when she was making the movies you've seen, Save the Last Dance and all that stuff. She was a baby. She was a baby.
Because I was already old.
I think he kind of learned a lesson proposing to these women. What I am just guessing is that he said, hey, I need to open up the relationship before they got married. And this time he was like, I'm not going to make that mistake again. Again, I don't know. So they marry the next year.
Because that's how long he could wait to start dating other women.
Right. The album opens in 2021. They've been married a year. They've bought a brownstone. They've moved her family into it. It's the picture perfect everything. This is everything that I wanted. Everything is going how I wanted it to go. And then she gets a phone call that she got the lead in a play, but it's in London, so she has to go there and do it. And in the evening, she says, hey, good news, I got the lead in a play. His demeanor changed, and he says, well, you're going to have to audition. He's immediately jealous of her.
I actually saw the footage when she was getting an award for this. He was so bitter, and he was being really rude to the interviewer because he was saying, well, I might as well not be here. You're not asking me any questions. This isn't for you, bro. It's not about you.
There's so many weird little red flaggy things. He sent her flowers on the opening night, and the note says, to my ambitious wife, these are bad luck flowers because if you do really well in this, it'll be hard for me. At the time, it's like, LOL. But looking back, that was not a joke at all.
No, he wasn't kidding. He was serious.
While she's in London rehearsing for this play, he calls her and says something to the effect of, I need to sleep with other people. And she has some boundaries that she says she's upset about it, but she's like, well, I want you to be happy. but it needs to be SWs. It needs to be in hotel rooms. This can't touch my life. I can't have this visible. We are both famous people. They need to keep this secret.
We need working girls only.
He agrees to these boundaries. And then, like you said, she won some awards for this play. He is angry. And one wonders, why is he pursuing famous, talented women? Because it's out of his serious dating history, there's a lot of actresses and there's a lot of well-known actresses.
I've had this experience in my life. A man appreciates me for my personality and my talents and my intelligence. But then as soon as we enter into a room and I take some of the attention away from him, or I am too charming or too funny, people are laughing at my jokes too much, then it's a problem. I think what most men want is this woman who's going to make him look good, who doesn't realize, oh, she's not actually just here to service me. She's a fully autonomous human being, and she's here to have her own jokes and her own life and her own interests. I love this independence. I remember my ex telling me this when he started dating his next girlfriend. He was complaining that, oh my gosh, she's so embarrassing. I took her to a party and she was just on the dance floor the whole night making all these friends. And I said, bro, if you don't like outgoing women who are the center of attention, then stop pursuing us. It doesn't make sense.
They want both things, but they don't think about how that's going to reflect on them. And then my ex-husband discouraged me in every way he could. It was a problem for him. I realize now it was because he thought of himself as the funny one, and he was funny. He is funny. I'm assuming he's still alive.
I think you can verify that pretty easily.
Someone would tell me, I think. He was, just furious that I wanted to be on stage. He would tell me all the time how bad I was and how he didn't think I was as funny as I thought I was. Anything to get me to stop. He couldn't stand it.
I saw a TikTok yesterday where this woman was saying, really the best that we can expect from men is to not be actively sabotaging our success. I've had multiple men like this. I don't learn my lesson. They adore me at the front end. And then as soon as they see that she's in a band, oh, she's getting attention from people, or people think she's witty and funny. I remember after I got divorced, this woman approached me. She was somebody I didn't know particularly well. She had seen me in social circles. And she said, wow, I couldn't believe it when I found out you guys were getting divorced, because I felt like you were like Ricky Ricardo and Lucille Ball. And I said, yeah, they're divorced. Because he couldn't tolerate the fact that she was a bigger star than he was, and probably lots of other reasons.
One thing I like about Lucille Ball is that as early as that was, she was already representing for women. There's some footage of her on a talk show where the host keeps touching women on their backs. And she's like, stop touching her, stop touching her, stop touching her. That was in the head of the time stuff, but she'd seen everything and she wasn't putting up with anything.
I was actually just watching last night, SNL skit, and it was Godzilla has an interview with Barbara Walters. It was not necessary that he keep groping Barbara Walters, but they just kept doing it. And at the end, Godzilla, who is played by John Belushi, grabs her aggressively and picks her up. And you could tell she didn't want to be picked up, and that wasn't part of the thing. But I just thought stuff like that just happened all the time.
And a lot of SNL, although it's great that they had several women on the show, their physicality was played for laughs. All the things you would expect in the 70s. I just watched the Christmas movie Trading Places, and I said, I watch it and I just pretend that the Dan Aykroyd blackface part doesn't happen. And he was like, at the time, Billy Crystal was in blackface on SNL every week. You can say it's a different time and that doesn't excuse anything, but it was so acceptable.
And also gratuitous breasts in that movie. I was watching it with my son and I forgot about all the boobs.
She's a sex worker with a heart of gold. How cliche can you get?
The cliche.
Second track is called Ruminating. So she gets off the phone with her husband, can't go to sleep, and she's just putting this stuff around in her head. And she's especially struck with the line from the conversation where he's asking her, if it has to happen, baby, do you want to know? It strikes her ear funny because I think it sounds so practiced. And she just repeats, what a line.
Does sleeping with other women cure your cancer? Why does it have to happen, bro?
Right. Again, just me putting stuff on them. He took the fact that she was going to be in London for 3 months. Let's keep it in mind. These are wealthy people. He could fly out and see her.
I had a long distance British relationship for a year and managed not to sleep with other people.
I think the line, if it has to happen, baby, do you want to know, sounds so rehearsed, like it's been said to other people. It really leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And this has happened to me when I was dating someone and they've asked me, do you want to know if I wind up dating other people? No. Why would I?
I remember dating this man and he was not serious about me, but I was serious about him. It was on the heels of my 10-year relationship ending. And I was ready to jump right into a new committed partnership, which makes perfect sense. I remember him saying, how do you feel about me dating other people? And I said, if you can wear a head to toe condom, I'm fine with that, but I'm not interested in getting STDs from other people. So I guess you don't have to tell me, but I'm never going to have sex with you again.
Right. And that's just a good safety conversation that needs to happen in any relationship. So what I find weird about this question, do you want to know, is it almost feels like the partner wants to show off to me about who they have been dating, hooking up with. I'm not here for that. That's not part of my function.
It's more about I'm discarding you and I want you to know that you're being discarded. Also, fun fact about the word rumination. It comes from cows. Cows ruminate grass in their mouths and chew it down to a meaty pulp before they swallow it.
I've known poly couples, it's almost a competition who can date more people, who can sleep with more people. It's a really weird impulse to me. I also don't know why I would want to know or want to be told. Just keep me safe. That's what I want.
Don't cheat on me. How about that?
The boundaries are he can sleep with other people. She doesn't want to. She only wants to sleep with him. But she also mentions in the next song that he's not sleeping with her either. As soon as they get married and the ring's on the finger, that's done. You're so sexually motivated, but not to me.
Because it's the narcissistic discard.
Laura clocked this immediately. I was really puzzling over it. Why would you pursue someone, love bomb them, say, I'll buy you any house you want, just move to the States, and then immediately stop having sex with them and pursue other women? And Laura's like, he's a narc. He's discarding her. Okay.
I think the same dynamic happened with P.Diddy and Cassie. I watched the multi-episodic series recently. He starts out lavishing her with gifts and letting her know that she's the most incredible woman that ever lived. Meanwhile, he's still sleeping with his ex-wife. And then as time goes on, he does more and more discarding. He's letting her know in big and small ways how incredibly unimportant she is, because that's part of the narc moves. You have to make the other person feel worthless, because if they don't feel worthless, they will not stay in this dynamic.
It's very clever because he's also setting her up to be a part of freak parties and sleep with other women, do the things he wants to do, because she's always trying to prove her worth. If she had any kind of sense that he loved her for who she was, I don't think any of that would happen.
Right. If she even had any sense that she could still pay her bills, because he was withholding any income she had and not giving it to her. He trapped her in lots and lots of different ways, which is what, let's be fair, all narcissists do. You can check out our Cluster Bees episode for more intel.
On the third track, Sleepwalking, she's in this crap situation where he's not having sex with her, but he continues to talk endlessly to her, use her for emotional labor. He keeps her up at night. She just feels like she's sleepwalking all the time. She's talking about their sex life, and she's like, you made me your Madonna and I want to be your whore, which is a hilariously cutting and bitter and funny line. But I don't think that's correct. He's not elevating her to this untouchable saint. He is discarding her and letting her know that she's not worth having Congress with.
Well, I think it's easier to pretend that he's elevating you to some status rather than discarding. The same thing happened when I was in a long-term relationship with a narcissist. Even on our wedding night, he wouldn't have sex with me. And that continued for years and years. We talked about this in the NSFW episode. He was taking care of his own needs and not including me at all.
And that's tricky because you had been long distance. You didn't know that this was a big part of his life because we're pining for each other. We're going to get together and have this great connection. And he was able to do that every once in a while, that largely you were just not going to be part of it.
No, we had a great connection for the week or 2 weeks that he would come stay with me. But as soon as he got me locked down, as they say, he realized he didn't have to make any kind of effort in that way.
The fourth track is Tennis. And chronologically, this is in 2022. It opens with Daddy's home for the first time in weeks. And she's trying to be a good little wifey. And she makes his favorite dinner, and he's kind of cranky and doesn't interact with her, but she's like, well, he's just jet lagged and I'm so glad he's home. He shows her something on his phone on Instagram, and there was the way you grabbed your phone right out of my hands. She felt like something was happening that she needed to know about. And she does see a text from someone he's dating. She's the storyteller. She gets to tell the story however she wants to. She said, some of this is true, some of this is not true. It's all blended up. So she gets to include lines like, if it was just sex, I wouldn't be jealous. That's sus.
It's not true.
It's not true. It's magical thinking. If I'm jealous, then it must be more than sex. If he's not having sex with her, why wouldn't she be jealous? Like,
Right.
Why wouldn't she be jealous of him just moving that whole thing over? She says a text from a lover, and she says, who's Madeline? Which, of course, the real name is not Madeline, it's Natalie, which has the same kind of thing to it. She calls him out, and he makes it all her fault, which is what narcissists do.
Let's be fair. Most men end up doing at some point.
In the fifth track, Madeline, she emails the girlfriend and asks for details. It's actually her voice doing the girlfriend's voice. She's doing an American accent, which is why she says things like, I don't want to cause any upset. We don't talk that way.
Right. Americans don't speak in that manner.
The girlfriend assures her, oh, this is just physical. This is not a love connection. Why would you have sex with a married fat man if there was not some emotional component there? She's opening herself up to this woman, but also saying, I can't trust anything that comes out of your mouth. I can't trust anything that comes out of his mouth. And the first time she mentions in this song, I've gotten old, gotten ugly. So she's blaming herself for not being attractive enough.
Which is what most women do when they're being
Right.
cheated on, because you're trying to find a solve. I want to stay in this marriage. And you say to yourself, this is my priority to stay in this marriage. I have to figure out ways to make it okay. And if it's that I'm ugly, then I can just go get some injectables and maybe Lily Allen can starve herself some more.
She's being treated this way, being discarded is messing with her self-esteem. This is something that I keep learning as an adult, because you look at celebrities and you look at beautiful people, and Lily Allen, who weighs the same as a grapefruit. When they got married, I'm like, she deserves this. Look at how beautiful she is. Look at how talented she is. She's so great. She deserves this love with this sweet, funny man. She doesn't have it any easier than anybody else.
No, because she continues to live her life around monogamous relationships with men.
The sixth track, Relapse, this is my least favorite track on the album. Lily Allen got sober in 2018, so really very new in her sobriety when she met David. But she's saying, I'm having so many feelings. I want to numb down. I need a Valium. I need a drink. And she's saying, if this makes me relapse, I'm going to lose everything. I know it's challenging for people in recovery to manage new feelings. That's the reason you've been drinking and using, is to tamp down those feelings. But I don't know that you should blame your relapse on your POS husband.
I'm not sure. I've been in a terrible relationship before. You're trying to find some way to deal with it. And if you're new to sobriety, you haven't developed the skills to be able to deal with difficulty. And we've got daily difficulties, like I missed my bus or can't find parking. I was disappointed in the dress that arrived from Amazon. And then we get into my husband is banging a bunch of women and lying to me about it. That's a pretty intense thing for anyone to deal with. And I remember when I was married, I drank a lot more. I don't really drink at all now, but at the time I was drinking a lot just to deal with all of the daily onslaught of negative feelings.
Another very sad line in this song is she's aware that her kids are watching her and trying to find out about love and about love relationships. She is only too aware of the example she is setting.
Right. And how she's harming her kids. And if we're looking at the reasons I'm out of the game, I was rereading my goodbye letter to a friend who's recently had a breakup because she was needing inspo. Well, let me read you some of this. And I said, you made my baby cry.
I mean, you make your baby cry all the time because you ask him for really irrational, messed up stuff like cleaning his room and not creating a second separate bedroom in the living room.
But in this case, he really thought his life was going to go in a different direction. And he had an attachment to this man. It was obviously a huge letdown for me, but to watch your child be damaged by your choices is so painful.
In insane sidebar news, David Harbour has asked for some time with her children because they bonded. And she was like, I'm considering it, but I really don't want to see him. He doesn't have any legal rights, for one. And two, screw him. If you wanted to have a good relationship with these kids, You shouldn't have treated me this way.
I think he's also doing the narc thing, which is I can't really have people in society think poorly of me.
Right.
And so I have to appear to be this dedicated father figure for these kids. I remember when my last boyfriend came over to pick up his stuff, my son was home and he hid in his room because he's like, I don't ever want to see him again.
The 7th track on this album is called Kitty Palace, but not that. After she has an exchange with the girlfriend, this is an ongoing thing, and he's broken all of her rules. And she says, you keep moving the goalposts. I don't want you here. Because we're rich and successful, you have a second home in New York, your bachelor pad, basically. I'm going to take your mail and your medication and your clothes, and I'm going to take it over there, and you can stay over there. And she finds that it's full of condoms, and the bed is all messed up. And she says, I didn't know this was your kitty palace. I thought it was your dojo. I thought it was a place where you got yourself together, where you went when you needed quiet, you needed to prepare for a role. And then there's a line in it about there's a bag from Dwayne Reed with the handles tied. There's a butt plug and lube inside. It's one of those details that sounds 100% like it had to come from life. It's just so grimy and it's just so specific. Yeah. It's not erotic. It's not from a fancy sex shop. It's not like he's just a work a day picking up a butt plug of Dwayne Reed to use on some lady.
I think he used it on some lady and then he put it in the Dwayne Reed bag because he didn't want to just put it on a shelf.
And she starts asking, am I looking at a sex addict? What is happening here? Because this feels like compulsion. Lily Allen is now selling, as part of her merch, she has USB sticks that look like butt plugs because that's how mad she is.
The thing I like about Lily Allen, and I've always liked this about her, she's extremely petty.
She doesn't like being played with. She comes with her own trauma. I remember on her first album singing about an ex-boyfriend. She felt safe telling you sad stories from my childhood. She came from a bad place. This is the most complete diss album that I have ever experienced. It reads like a diary. Yeah. Everything's happening in a certain order, and she's just ruthless. And I love it. This is much more than rappers saying, oh, I think that I have a bigger willy than you. Or,
well, I'm not sure. You haven't listened to Kendrick Lamar's diss tracks.
I've heard that those are pretty rough. The specificity of this intimate relationship.
Right, because she's sharing details that should be private and should never be shared with the public.
Yeah, she also talks about a box of love letters from women, keeping them in a shoebox, and they're all just the same story. I wish you could have been better. I loved you so much. I wish this could have lasted.
So I'm just going to go ahead and put this out there. Number 1, don't let your husband have a second place, no matter what. Number 2, don't go there.
Don't ever go there.
Don't ever go there.
And of course, there's a lot of holes in the story. She's texting him, I'm going to go over there now. And he doesn't try to stop her or say, oh, I'll come by and get my stuff. Maybe he's not available. If I'm David Harbour and I know that Lily Allen is headed over, I'm panicking. I'm going to try to figure out how to keep her out of that place.
Well, I think he already understands that the relationship is functionally over.
The jig is up.
There's no point in trying to hide anything.
The 8th track on the album is 4chan Stan. This is the legit diss track where she calls him a coward. She says he's not even cute, which, I don't agree with.
We both know that's not true.
She's found a receipt from Bergdorf's and he's bought a handbag for this other woman. And she asks what her name is and he won't give it up. She gives herself an out verbally. She uses the language, I went through your bedside drawer. I've never been inclined to do that before, making it his fault that she's going through his stuff. Certainly they have a joint account. She's allowed to know where their money is going. But I did think that was a little sus how she was like, I've never wanted to do this before, so it's your fault.
She found a butt plug in a Dwayne Reed bag. I'm going to let her do whatever she wants.
Right.
Because that's the thing. When you're married to people, you don't get privacy anymore. Sorry, bro. You don't get privacy, at least in a bedside table. Maybe I'm not going to read your diary. I can go through your bedside table. We share everything.
So the 9th track, which is the hardest to pronounce, is Non-Monogamy. This is a dance hall jam. She's just talking about how she's desperately trying to go along with the open marriage. It opens with, I don't want to F with anyone else. And now it's all you want to do. She's trying to make him happy and she's just being punished again and again. And this is the track that made me ask Laura, why did he go so hard? And then he doesn't want her anymore. And she's like, well, that's the narc play. He's discarding her. Oh, the 10th track, Just Enough. He is giving her just enough interaction to let her hold out some kind of hope.
That's called breadcrumbing.
He breadcrumbs her just enough so she hopes that maybe this will blow over and they can get back to where they were.
I had a therapist say to me once when I was married, you are surviving off of crumbs from the table.
And you and I have talked about this. She wants to get back to the guy he was when he was dating her, and that guy isn't real.
She doesn't realize that that is a fake person that he made up to reel her in. And that was another realization when I got divorced. I realized, oh, I used to think about, where's that sweet, kind man that I loved? Where did he go? And what I realized is he was the facade, the nice exterior on the rotten building that'll get you to go inside, because what's real is hot garbage and nobody wants to have anything to do with that. You have to kind of invent this facade so that people will even be interested in dating you.
They've all experienced that no one wants to go into that building. One of Neil Gaiman's victims said that he was a monster that dangled a floppy-haired, soft-spoken British man to get you to get close to the monster.
Yeah, I think the big realization for me was that the real self is this horrible man that I've been wasting 7 years of my life with. That sweet, cute, funny, charming guy is not real. But we all know that the real self is just so horrific that no one would go near him with a 10-foot pole.
In this track, she talks about planning to get a facelift, again, trying to improve herself. She has gotten a facelift and a boob job, trying to feel better about herself after the absolute brutal ego bruising this man left her with. She mentions that he has mentioned maybe getting a vasectomy, which she finds strange because they're not having sex. Oh, did you get someone pregnant? Did you go to the clinic with her? Are you in love with her? What's happening, dude?
And really the question that Lily should be asking herself is, why on earth am I still in this relationship?
The 11th track, Dallas Major, is an early 2000s disco song about online dating. And she says, look, I'm just looking for validation. I used to be famous. She's in the phase where she's trying to get revenge or try to make him jealous or trying to get anything out of this man at all by going on dates with other men. The lyrics listing, I've looked in a couple places, is I'm looking for someone to have fun with while my husband works away. And every listing says works away, but because of her accent, it sounds to me like walks away. That makes it a lot sadder.
Two things can be true at the same time. He is working and he is also walking.
She's in her 40s and she's meeting the dreadful people online. And she's made little tiny videos for all of these that only appear on Spotify. And they're loops that have something to do with the song. The one for this one is she's just beautiful, perfectly made up, wearing a very sexy outfit. And she's got this rotating cast of men that are just awful talking at her.
I don't know what that's like. It sounds weird.
The 12th track, Beg for Me. This is the one that makes me really sad because I find this one very universal. She's listing the things she wants from a partner. I want you to make me feel special. I want you to adore me. I want you to make me feel desired. I want to be told that I'm beautiful. And she's asking, why won't you beg for me? And she's experiencing this cognitive dissonance. When she moves in the world, she's having all this success on stage. She's beautiful. She's getting all this feedback from the public about how beautiful and desirable she is. And yet the one person she wants to feel that way just won't.
Yes, I've experienced this myself. I remember talking to my ex-husband and saying, I sit in a therapy office all day and people say that I'm wise and helpful. And my friends tell me that I'm beautiful and funny and interesting. And you just think I'm dog poop.
I've experienced the same thing. I feel crazy in this interaction with you because you're acting like everything I say makes no sense. And the things that I want are completely unreasonable.
It's gaslighting, right? You're saying that my lived reality is not real. You're telling me in a variety of ways, the way that everyone else experiences me in the world is not who I truly am.
This is the last vulnerable moment in the album. She says that if he says he wants her to stay, she will love him forever. She is still there for him. He's completely indifferent to her. Then we get to the 13th track, Let You Win / Let You In, where he asks her to lie to her kids and say this is a mutual split because he's trying to protect his image. This is basically the impetus for the record. Why should I make you look like a hero? Why should I shoulder all this pain? And she says, I could stay with you longer and pretend that I think things will improve and pretend that there's going to be some other chapter for us, but I know it won't. When you think about the timeline, he asks to start sleeping with other people in 2021. She discovers that he's been lying to her in 2022, and then it's all over in 2024. This is not a long thing. She is seen moving out in 2024. Filing for divorce in September, and this album comes out in 2025. It's a pretty short little timeline. I guess maybe that's one thing that made it easier for her is we were barely in this thing when you abandoned it.
I don't know. 5 years is not a short timeline in my mind.
Compared to our marriages,
My marriage was 7 years. I was together with him for 7. I was married for 5. So I'm actually on the same timeline as Lily Allen. As David Bowie says, 5 years, my brain hurts a lot. The beauty of being married to a narcissist is that 5 years feels like 20 because every day is a living hell.
The last track, Fruity Loop, is the closure track, and she's come full circle and she realizes it's not her fault and it really doesn't have anything to do with her. This is what he does. This is what he's always done.
This is who he is.
Right.
That's a really important piece that people need to understand. This man is this. This is not some choices he's made this relationship. This is who he will continue to be over and over again for the rest of his life.
And that brought me a lot of peace. It might not continue to be true, but in my marriage, all of his relationships have ended in infidelity that he's initiated. This is just what he does. And the fact that it was me didn't make any difference. And I shouldn't take it personally for that reason.
Right. But of course you will, because you're a person.
This runs counter to all of the messaging that we have all received. Lily Allen, this beautiful little sprite, is sure that if she was more sensitive, more beautiful, more desirable, if she could do more stuff, she would get his love and attention, but it's not available.
Because someone is telling her constantly that there is something wrong with you. I had an argument with my son recently, and he basically said, it doesn't matter what I did. It's the way that you are addressing me now. And I got super triggered. And I said, bro,
yeah,
you're in the wrong here. You screwed up. I'm sorry that I'm raising my voice as I'm addressing it with you because I've asked you to do the same thing 14 times. My delivery has nothing to do with what's going on here. You've made decisions, and it doesn't matter how I respond to that. My response is going to be valid because you have made bad choices. This was the story that my husband always said. Well, if you could approach sex with me in this 45-step process and do 18 things before we even talk about having sex, then I would very much desire you. If you could bring up a concern with me at 4 p.m. when I've had enough sleep and I'm not hungover and I'm not hungry, all these rules about how I had to take care of him and how I had to basically live. That's what David Harbour is also doing. He's a freaking narc.
This is a very satisfying end to the album. She's recognizing your stuff is yours to fix. She's like, I wish I could have fixed it. I wish I could have fixed you. I can't. One of the stories that really aggravates me about this record is that everybody's talking about her revenge dress. She's as thin as she was. She's thinner than she ever has been. She's got bigger boobs. She's got this fresh facelift. She's doing all these public appearances. Oh, her revenge body, her revenge dress. And I find this so aggravating, this message that a woman needs to become this final form, this turbo body in order to punish an ex and say, see, I did deserve better.
This came from Princess Diana because the week that Charles was making his relationship with Camilla known to the world, she bought a tiny black dress and wore it to a public outing so that people would take her photo and ignore him.
And you'd have to see it, right?
Because Princess Diana had a lot of mental health problems. And I think, like you said, this is the story that our society tells us over and over and over again. You have to be thin. You have to be pretty. You have to be smart, but not too smart. You have to be funny, but not too funny. You have to be accommodating. You have to be kind if you want to make your partner happy. You have to be basically a superhuman in order to be loved.
She always deserved better treatment from him. I do want to establish that I am very much in the court of let women do what they want when we're talking about surgery, supplements, anything. But it does aggravate me that someone who looked like Lily Allen didn't feel that it was good enough and felt that she needs to. Let me just show David Harbour what he missed. He missed everything to begin with.
He didn't love you. I think that's the important thing to remember. He never loved you. He's not a person. It's like a shark. He's just trying to stay alive. He's doing what sharks do. And even if a shark is nice, eventually he will rip your arm off.
In the aftermath of this record, she's got this universal acclaim. It's on everybody's top 10 albums of the year. It's all over TikTok. She's touring and she's very excited to put her teenage children into the plan, touring on their winter breaks, and they can come along. Olivia Rodrigo took her on stage at Glastonbury and they sang Smile, her hit from her first record. And she told her daughters that she was going to do it and then brought them along. I guess they thought that maybe I was going to be a backup singer or something. They're 12 and 13, but they do not know who they're effing with.
Children will humble you.
In response to this, David Harbour, who is bipolar, allegedly he is on a psychiatric hold because he was acting irrationally in Escondido. He was uninvited from the last Stranger Things premiere. He picked a fight in a bar with a man. He asked someone to drive him to a monastery in Escondido. The person said, "Why don't you get an Uber?" And he says, "I don't have a phone." The man says that Harbour proceeded to stalk him and his daughters around a store, screaming that he wasn't their father until the sheriff arrived. He said he noticed the man looked like David Harbour, but didn't realize it was actually him until he saw him visiting Barnes and Nobles in Escondido wearing the same outfit. In an interview with GQ magazine earlier, Harbour had talked about visiting Deer Park Monastery in Escondido because a college friend of his was a monk there. Millie Bobby Brown has accused him of bullying and harassing her on set at Stranger Things and had complained to the production team. They have managed to work this out in whatever way they were going to work this out. He is melting down. His reaction to his wife shaming him publicly and having an enormous success with it is that he's going out of his gourd as he is on a promotional tour for his television show.
That's not surprising at all. And we talked about this in the Crunchy Nutty Cluster Bees episode. People with narcissistic personality disorder do not have a strong ego. They don't have a strong sense of self. You have to understand that this personality disorder happens because you are highly traumatized, you have lots of problems, and you are trying really, really hard to maintain any kind of self-esteem. It's very easy to burst that bubble. The way I explain it to clients when they ask me about narcissistic personality disorder is your whole ego, your whole sense of self is like one of those Fabergé eggs. There's nothing in the center. It's a very weak, flimsy, easily breakable thing. The grandiosity comes in moving blankets that are wrapped around your Fabergé egg. It's very easy to remove the blankets and then you have nothing.
Lily Allen is not perfect either. I'm sure she's somewhere in Cluster B.
She slept with what's-his-face from Oasis on an airplane when they were both married. That's not great.
I'm not saying she's guiltless. I don't think she deserved this because I don't think anyone deserves it.
I don't think anyone deserves this except for the diddler. P.Diddy does deserve this, but no one else does.
Lily Allen actually just entered EMDR therapy.
Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing for anyone who's interested.
She's been in trauma therapy, but she's in EMDR because she now has a shopping addiction. She says, "I think it started when I was celebrating the success of this album, but now I don't think I deserve money and I try to get rid of it as soon as I can."
If you've ever worked in addiction, which I have, one of the things that you learn right away is that as soon as the person stops using their drug of choice, they will eventually move to gambling or spending because they're trying to get high. Basically, you're trying to chase that high and make it happen for you because you can't make those feelings happen internally.
And in the album, when she's complaining about him having an affair with this woman, she says, "You get to sleep next to my medication." He was her drug in the beginning of the relationship when he was making her feel good about herself. That's part of her envy. And here we experience the difference between having a crush on a character, which is Sheriff Hopper, and having a crush on a person, which is David Harbour, who I absolutely do not have a crush on. Same thing happened to me with Agent Mulder and David Duchovny. I don't have a crush on David Duchovny. I think he's kind of a dink. Agent Mulder, most important thing about Mulder is he was hot, but he didn't know it.
That's the same thing with Hopper. He doesn't know how hot he is, and that's why he's so hot. And I'm still in love with him. I'm not in love with David Harbour, but I
love your ability to separate. I'm jealous of it.
I do with Kanye West all the time.
Laura, what are your final thoughts on this topic? Lily Allen and David Harbour and West End Girl.
Tale as old as time. Meow, 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 meow. I actually wrote a song when I got divorced that has similar lyrics to Lily Allen. So I'm thinking David Harbour's not going to sue her, then I will, because I wrote a lyric. It's not me. It's not me. It's you, babe. And then I go through and describe all the things that my ex-husband did. It's a sad story. I feel sorry for both of them. They're obviously very mentally ill people that need to do a lot of personal work. And I feel like with Lily Allen, we have anorexia nervosa, which is pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Spending problems. We have a drinking problem. We probably had a drug problem. All of that is unhealed trauma that she needs to address. And I'm glad she's doing EMDR because it's one of the best ways to quickly go inside and start unpacking some of this stuff. Virginia, what are your final thoughts on this topic?
When this album started blowing up, I get it. I don't have to listen to it. I'm seeing the TikToks. I get the shape of it. But when I first started listening to it, this is brutal. To have a brutal album in a pop format is very pleasing to me. And I think it's one of the most thorough takedowns of another human being that I've ever experienced. I'm so excited and happy about it. Lily's a flawed person, and I hope that she finds happiness. I just really enjoy the intricacy of her feelings about this failed attempt at an open marriage, doing her best by this man and trying to stay by this man and realizing it wasn't going to work. I'm very stoked and proud of her, and I hope that she gets to a place of peace about it.
I really, truly understand to the fibers of my soul how she wants to expose other people to this truth about him, because any relationship that has ended, everyone always thought the guy was great. And they're like, well, why are you breaking up? There's a few things. I'm not in a position where I can make a hit album and expose him to all those things. And actually, if I were her, I'd be a little bit afraid. I'm glad that she was able to take lemons and make them into lemonade.
If we are going from the past, this is not going to end David Harbour's career. He is not canceled.
Because no man is canceled.
No man is ever canceled, and he committed no crimes, but it's going to tarnish his public image, which is the worst thing you can do to a narcissist. This is like stabbing him in the gut, letting everybody know that he love bombed this beautiful woman and then immediately betrayed her over and over again for the duration of their relationship. It's great.
Because I think in today's Hollywood and today's celebrity world, a lot of it is about the public perception of who you are as a person.
Right. Exactly. That is hitting him where it hurts. In Trading Places, the Christmas film,
AKA one of the best films ever made in our times.
Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy decide the way to hurt rich people is to take their money away. She has decided the way to hurt this narcissist is to shatter the public image of him as a good guy.
Of course, because that's all that narcissists care about.
Previous diss tracks, Kendrick Lamar is calling Drake a kid toucher.
I think it's really specific. He was calling Millie Bobby Brown when she was 14 or 15.
Right. And there's no
poor
reason
Millie Bobby Brown is in the middle of all this crap.
Right. She's put up with a lot of crap for her age. And there's no reason for any adult man to be a phone buddy with a child.
Or give dating advice to kids,
Ugh.
especially when they're not related to you in any way. I can say as an adult, I have given dating advice to kids, but it's because I was blood related to those kids.
And then they didn't take it, so it's fine.
No one ever listens to me. What are you talking about?
Eminem is also famous for a diss track on the Marshall Mathers LP, but that's just where he was threatened to kill his ex-wife and his mom, which we thought was fine and funny.
I'm just going to go ahead and hold my hand up and say I didn't find it fine or funny at the time either.
Laura, where can people find you on the internet if they either want to find out more about our podcast or schedule an appointment for EMDR therapy?
They can find me on my website, lauraryan.org. If they're interested in finding out more about the podcast, I've got some pretty hot TikToks going. I am Laura Ryan. This week on my TikTok, I interview Inigo Montoya and ask him about forgiveness. If you're interested in following our podcast, you can also go to our Instagram page, My Sister's a Therapist Instagram, or if you'd like to listen to all of our episodes in one place, you can go to mysistersatherapist.com. Virginia, if somebody doesn't want to cry about David Harbour and they would rather laugh in a comedic venue, how would they go about finding out more about you?
You can find me at my website, which is www.badinia.com. I have a calendar there. I have a map of every place I've ever performed. I just got to add a new one last night. Very exciting. You can look at my TikTok, which is hooked to Badinia, Badinia. And my Instagram is Badinia, Badinia. If you have thoughts, feelings, concerns about David Harbour, show ideas, compliments that you would like to email us, you can write us at hello@mysistersatherapist.com. If you would like to hire us to promote your product, event, appear at the opening of your dojo or Kitty Palace.
If you'd like to promote Imperfect Foods, Liquid Death, Waterloo, Sunday Riley, AAA, Costco, Target, or G-Sauce, please email us.
Sunday Riley would be especially welcome because I'm getting low. You can write us at hireus@mysistersatherapist.com. Laura, now is the time of the podcast where you sometimes share a positive review, email, text message, or skywriting message that we have received from a listener. Do you have something to share this week?
I have a skywriting message, but I would like to encourage anyone who's listening, if they would like to leave us a review, I would be eternally grateful. Apple Podcasts, you can send a review to Spotify, and you can also write a review for Audible. I have an email from a listener this week, KB, and she says, "Dear sisters, I want to respond to your Irresponsible Diagnoses art edition episode. I really enjoyed the episode and it made me laugh because it makes so much sense, especially in comedy. There are people that are so crazy, but also at the top of their game. When you were talking about your friend who was a mentally ill artist, I've also had quite a few friends that are dealing with some heavier mental illness and are also very creative. I feel like there's something to what you were saying about not being able to create original art unless you're in a state of mind that's probably not a normal one. I have this painting that I painted the second day that I started weaning off sertraline. I hope you enjoy it and I hope you guys are well. Thanks for having such a fun podcast. Thank you, KB. And that painting was haunting.
Very upsetting. Thank you for sharing it with us. To close, we'd like to thank Kay and all of our listeners for listening. Tell someone you care about My Sister's a Therapist.
You can even tell someone you don't even like. Just tell.
Just say, hey, do you want...
hey, person who's handing me a mint in the bathrooms. Have you heard of this great podcast, My Sister's a Therapist?
At this point, we have over 50 hours. Some of it is valuable therapeutic information.
Most of it.
And it's free. So send them our way. And we'd like to leave you with the inspirational words of our founder, Billy Ray Valentine Capricorn. As he said, we can make it, baby.
Me and you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.